So my name is Vincent Pontbriand, and I'm a senior producer on Assassin's Creed Unity.
Acting on your best behavior, turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world.
So, starting Assassin's Creed on new-gen consoles, what were the main kind of goals, the kind of remit you had for this one?
We started the project almost 4 years ago already. So this next generation of hardware didn't exist, but we knew it was coming. We just didn't have any info on it. So what we wanted to do was at least provide gamers with a high-end version of high-end PC version. And we started to look at everything that we wanted to do with this game, coming from our mandate, which was to create the first fully online Assassin's Creed. And that meant renovating all of our gameplay features in order to at least replicate them over the network. And while doing that, we decided to go the step beyond and just actually renew them and make sure that we would provide a next level of interaction with all the systems. So it was really a technical endeavor at first. Even before getting into the creative aspects, it was all about hardware and tech and the engine, so it was a little bit boring. But it got interesting when we started to look at everything that people were asking for a next-gen AC. So, of course, the three major gameplay pillars, but the addition of co-op, customization, and more interactions with the crowds. So that was all part of our mandate, and it took a long time to get here.
Did you feel like being on new hardware, you could kind of push the boundaries a bit more, come up with sort of new stuff? I mean, I noticed the combat's a lot different to what it was in the previous games.
Yep, definitely. Well, the hardware allows us to do stuff that we just couldn't do before. One example of that is the amount of characters we can have on screen now. We could have found ways before to do that, but with really limited interactions. But now what we're able to do is to have 3, 4, 5,000 NPCs, which are all interactive, they're all at least as smart as they were before, but now in the thousands. And then we've even pushed the envelope a little bit more in terms of AI and the amount of interactions that we can have. So they're a bit smarter. And the idea was to push our social stealth pillar the most. So how and why they detect you. It's not player-centric anymore. So before, everything was about the player. They didn't care for each other. Now, because of co-op, and we at least had to acknowledge that other players can interact with the same NPCs as you would, and then we've added elements so that the crowds can interact with itself. So we have an ecosystem. All this wasn't possible before.
Being a kind of co-op focused game, if you still want to play it alone, are you going to miss anything?
Sure. No.
Or you can still do it?
Well, co-op is definitely the big new thing that we want to push in terms of marketing and stuff, but for us it's just one more thing. The game itself is still an Assassin's Creed game, first of all, and it's a new version for next gen basically. So that was our main focus, and then co-op was the cherry on the cake. We acknowledge that a lot of players are not familiar with online games or might not even be interested, and that's fine. All the content that's there that you can play with friends can be played solo, so you're not missing out.
Right. It seems like quite an expansive, quite a large game. I mean, we haven't seen the full environment yet, but you get the impression that there's a grand sense of scale. I mean, how close do you think you are to hitting the ceiling with kind of new-gen, hardware? Do you think there's still a lot of scope for, bigger, more dense worlds?
As I said, it took a while just to get the tech running and stuff. So we decided to focus on one big, large city for this game. Maybe in the future we could have multiple of these size, but then we run into production issues where we already have a massive team already working on this one. So I guess that's going to be the ceiling eventually. It's just how much is it worth to add all this stuff, and how long are players willing to play these games? I think we're giving quite a lot already, with dozens and dozens of gameplay hours. So I don't know.
mean, what lessons do you feel you learned from the last game? There seemed to be a lot of variety in kind of side activities, but the story, there was a lot of kind of tail and eavesdrop and that kind of stuff. Is that still in Unity, or are you kind of trying to mix it up a bit?
Some of it comes with the fantasy, so you're an assassin, so you get contracted and you need to assassinate people, so you often have to tail them or sneak up on them and stuff. So we definitely still have these types of gameplay, but the differences with Unity is that we realize people hate force fails, so we remove most of those. Now we're embracing like the 360 approach, so there's always multiple ways to achieve your objectives. You can decide to do a mission entirely in stealth, and that's possible now. Before it would often just end up in combat. Now it's actually possible to sneak in and then sneak out. And so there's a couple of things like that we've learned from previous games that, in order to try to make this one better.
So it's kind of all about giving players the tool sets to empower them to adapt, to play the way they want to.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the customization feeds into that as well. We saw that different bits of gear give you different advantages and stuff. Is there going to be a way you're going to be able to balance that as a player, or is it entirely up to you how you go about that?
The way it works is that as you do mission and progress through the world, you'll earn skill points and money, which you can spend on upgrading your gear. And your gear has actual effect on gameplay. So if you upgrade your boots, for example, you might run a little bit more silently. If you upgrade your hood, you'll be able to blend better inside large crowds. So this is all part of customization, which is very useful both for the single player, but also to create some sort of a complementarity with when you play online with your friends.
Are you ever going to hit a wall where players can't progress because they need a more powerful weapon or more powerful gear, or is that all taken into account?
It might happen, but because most of the missions are very open-ended, there's multiple ways to do it. It might be possible to find ways without upgrading your character too much to go through missions. But if you really want to have 100% completion or synchronization, as we call it, then it's definitely necessary to upgrade your gear.
I mean, with so many side quests and story, how many hours of gameplay do you think are in this one?
It's hard to tell. We haven't timed it yet. The single player, the main campaign with Arno's story, his redemption quest, that's a good 15-20 hours, I would say. Yeah, easily. And then we call them the 1,000 stories of Paris. We don't have 1,000, but we have hundreds actually. And these will also add a lot of hours, I guess, of gameplay.
Is there any feedback going back and forth between the various studios, like what Sophia are doing with Rogue and what you're doing with Unity? Is there a link up there between you two guys?
Yeah, there's a lot of sharing in between the teams. So now the AC brand is a big, large team, and we have studios working on these games all over the world, and we do a lot of sharing. Also, what I need to clarify is that we've been working on this one for 4 years, so in between that time, there's 3 other ACs that have shipped. So we borrowed a lot of ideas that these guys put in, and vice versa. Some of the stuff we were prototyping made its way into these games, and that's fine. We can always have better ideas. So there's a lot of sharing, and even beyond that, at Ubisoft we have a philosophy of sharing between teams. So Watch Dogs, Far Cry.
Is it exciting focusing on one platform instead of having to make a game work on several different platforms? I mean, PS4 and Xbox One, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, as I said, it's definitely easier to just focus on next gen.
Yeah.
And then because the 3 platforms we're working on, so PC, Xbox One, and PS4, are very similar in terms of hardware. For us, it's just a matter of hiring a few more engineers to do the porting. But the core mechanics, the core of the game is always the same. So for us, the split was more between old and new gen. Yeah. That was the deciding factor.
Do you think that Arno has the potential as a character to be like an Ezio with spin-off games in the future?
It could be.
Yeah?
It could be. Yeah, we never planned that far ahead. We have options,
right?
But we take risks. We introduce new characters, new environments, new settings, and we're just looking to see how people react to those.
Yeah. Is it kind of safe to say that if this took 4 years to make, there's another Assassin's Creed game already rolling into development?
We always have plans.
Yeah, always stuff going on.
Yeah. So the game is coming out this year on October 28th on Xbox One, PS4 and PC.